You've been wanting
very
this
upset.
shirt where it says busy thinking about girls?
Yes. It wasn't at Target when I went
I
there.
wore this shirt specifically because I bought it today, but then I also was like, oh, I should change clothes. And I was like, no, I'm going to wear this for Alicia because I'm busy thinking about Alicia Mccarvell. Hey loves, I'm Squid.
And I'm Cheer, and you're listening to
Not Your Pick Me,
a podcast that highlights gamers and content creators who are breaking barriers in hopes of making gaming and streaming communities safer and more inclusive spaces for everyone.
Stick around for some hilarious yet educational content. And just remember, no matter how much you want us to be, we're not your pick me. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Not Your Pick Me. We are really excited about this week's episode because we will be talking with the Alicia Mccarvell, a professional self-love advocate, as well as an influencer and friend. Alicia, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you mind introducing yourself to our listeners?
Sure. My name is Alicia Mccarvell. My pronouns are she, her. I am a little nobody from Halifax, Nova Scotia, who got a platform through the pandemic, just trying to make people laugh and feel better about themselves. I was an extrovert, forced introvert, and I needed to find a way to kind of access people and humans and have interaction. And I found that on TikTok, and 3 videos deep and my platform blew up pretty quickly, and it has ultimately led me to both you and Cheer, which has been incredible. I started on Twitch I think 8 months ago, and it's been an incredible community to join. But I found you first, Squid. I think you followed me on TikTok, and then I followed you back. I can't remember, somewhere along the way. And then that led me to your incredible community. And part of that community was Cheer. And then I worked real hard to make Cheer like me. I worked real hard for that. And then, here we are. I got invited on the podcast. So I think I did an okay job.
I also just want to blame my trauma of this person's being really nice. Why?
Why?
Why are they being so nice?
Do you know what is the best part is that if you look at my high school friend group or my group of friends outside of the internet, I'm the type of person that's no new friends. No, what's going on? I need to get to know you first. And you're definitely, I know people joke about it, but you're the alpha for sure of the pack, 110%. And in the best way possible. You always need that balance of people who are so excited to welcome someone new in, and that was most definitely Squid. I definitely worked very hard, and I would go to bed with Scott, and I'd be like, guess what? He'd be like, what? I was like, Cheer invited me to play tonight. Ask me in chat if I wanted to play. And then what did you post the other day? You posted something, your TikTok of the two of us in it. And I sent it to Scott, and I was like, remember when I thought she didn't like who I was? I always knew it was never that. I just always knew that gaining your trust was, 1, going to be really important, but 2, not going to be as easy for everybody else, because I kind of threw myself into the mix of things and said, hey guys, here I am. But also some of the most meaningful friendships I've made over the last 3 years of being on an online platform, which is also just so cool.
What happened is I was already following you. I'd seen you on my For You page a lot, and I just remember being like, damn, this bitch is hot. I was like, she's out here killing the freaking game. And I loved the way that you posted things. I love the content that you put out, because I know that there were so many women that were getting so much from that. And then one day you followed me, and I was like, and y'all were live pretty soon after. And I was like, hey, so do you play video games? I'm just curious. Because I was not about to make the assumption that it was Scott that played video games because, excuse me, look at us.
Yeah, he does play video games, just not as well as I do.
And so whenever I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna DM her and see, because like I know that at some point too, when you get to a level or a point when it comes to your platform where people are afraid to reach out, maybe because they're like, oh, I don't want to be seen as like trying to just get in her circle, that kind of thing. But I was like, you know what? If she is playing video games, there's quite a possibility that she doesn't have a group that she plays with all the time. And if so, like, I've got a group of really awesome women that I think would really enjoy playing with her because of the humor, the excitement, the morale that you add. Because I didn't know how well you played, which you play very well.
I play better now than I did when we started. So, okay.
So does Cheer.
I would also like to confirm that you slid into my DMs. Thank you.
I did, and I will take and own that every single day. And so, like, it has been amazing. Like, I remember you literally said, so this was our first message. Wait, I'm obsessed. You play COD? You are always welcome to jump into games with my girls and I. Also would love to see you stream on Twitch. This is your response. OMG, no way. I'm trash. Ha 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 ha.
I like to start things off with honesty. I'm cool, but I suck, just so you know. I put out my PSN network and like 400 people added me. I had 2 people invite me to play video games, and the one person who invited me was the one I talk about. She was 18 years old. Sarah, she was like, hey, do you want to play? She just joined my party one day and was like, hey, are you playing with anybody? And I was like, no, nobody asks me to play. And she was like, well, we're playing Warzone, and I had never played Warzone. I had only played like team deathmatch. Like I had only played modern, like actual Modern Warfare, and I had never even played pretty much anything else except for that. So when she was like, you want to play Warzone? I was like, I'm gonna be extra trash at this, like extra trash. But yeah, Sarah quickly became one of my closest friends, and just I could share literally anything with her, and it was like such a weird, awkward friendship because I could be her mother essentially, but she was just so like one of the first people to reach out and say, hey, do you want to play with me? And taught me so much about the game, but also just like I needed that immaturity in a sense, not that she's immature, but I mean, somebody who sees the world through the lens of a 19-year-old versus me seeing the world through a lens as a 32-year-old. Like those are 2 very different things, but I needed that because my life was so stressful and things had changed so drastically that her view on like, oh, well, was like so nice for me to have at the end of my day. Be like, okay, not a big deal. Like, well, I'll figure it out type of thing. So I'm very grateful for her. And then the second person to ask me to play was you. So I wasn't going to skip that chance to kind of join in. I was like, oh, more than one friend? Okay, cool. Let's see how this goes. It's hard sometimes when your whole world, and I know you understand this, when your whole world revolves around social media and like video games or just online platforms. It's hard to find places to like step away and still enjoy yourself, because a lot of the places that people use for enjoyment are my job. So, people scroll on TikTok to relax after a hard day. That's my job. People scroll on Instagram to relax on a hard day. That's my job. Gaming was not my job. So it was like the first time where I could go on and play video games and kind of relax from my day, connect with people outside of my platform, and meet new people.
So you mentioned getting into TikTok during the pandemic and everything. Why and how did that happen?
Well, long story, medium short. I actually lost my job. I was working with a fitness facility, a fitness company, and they closed my club after I had been working with them for almost 8 years. And it was like my world ended, especially since I've been working for them for so long. So I decided after that I was going to take some time off, because I had essentially been working since I was 14 years old. And I was going to take advantage of some time to myself. And I started creating during that time. So I got an Apple Pencil and an an iPad, and I started drawing. And I started creating like little cartoon characters, and that's how I was supplementing like my bills at the time. And like every other person, I downloaded TikTok and I was watching. I would not dare post. And then I started heading back to work, and I worked part-time as a bartender, which was very fun at like a local Legion. And funny things were happening. So I was like, you know what? Like I'm just gonna start posting on TikTok. In my brain, nobody was ever gonna see it. Like on all honesty, like nobody was ever gonna see what I was posting. So I had built my account with drafts. And then one day I decided I was gonna start posting them. And there was a trend on TikTok called "My boyfriend's 10 times hotter than me" check.
Ayo, having a boyfriend that's 10 times hotter than you check.
Then you'd go to the videos, and by beauty standards, like if we're going by unrealistic beauty standards, these couples that were underneath the sound were traditionally beautiful people. And then in the comment section of the videos, it was like this big, huge argument like, no, she's uglier. No, he's uglier. No, like she's way out of his league. No, he's way out of his league. And I was like looking through all these videos going, no, like we're not gonna do this. So I said to Scott, I was like, I'm posting this and this is gonna go viral. And he was like, no, it's not. And I was like, it's gonna, like, if you looked at the rest of the videos, it's going to. So I posted a video, and it's me in the front, my husband's 10 times hotter than me check, and then just thirst traps with Scott in the back, like no shirt on, looking absolutely jacked at the beach. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I knew what I was doing. Like I knew what I was doing when I posted it. I knew people were going to be taken by surprise at the fact that he was my husband. I dealt with that our entire relationship. It wasn't new to me that the internet was going to think it was like crazy that, you know, we were together. So I posted it, and the first day, like, not too much happened. But then the next day at work, my sister would text me, and she was like, that video's at 200,000 views. And like, I'm talking, I had 70 views on my other videos, and 2 other videos before this one. And then it just overnight was like 1.5 million views, and I had 56,000 followers like 4 days later.
Wow.
A lot of the comments in the comment section of my video wasn't what I anticipated it to be. I thought it would be a very toxic place, but I got to the comment section and it was like, wow, like this is like me and my husband, or wow, I've been with my high school sweetheart, or like I feel inadequate to my partner too. It's nice to see that you know there's other people out there like me that, you know. And it was this eye-opening moment for me that I think I have spent the majority of my life not necessarily the victim, but I made myself a singular person in my experience, thinking nobody else goes through what I go through, that I've made it a lot harder for me to like grow and make changes and learn. And like this was like my biggest eye-opening moment that like, okay, you're not special. That's why I always introduce myself as a nobody from Halifax, Nova Scotia, because I am nobody. Like my story is not that special. I just have a really cool platform to share it. And yeah, it expanded, and like business side, Scott and I came out with pillars that we would build my platform on, and we've stuck to those pillars ever since day one. And that's kind of like my guiding compass on what I choose to post and brands I choose to work with. And then yeah, here we are today, and I just hit 4.6 million TikTok followers, and it's been outrageous.
Well deserved too.
Thank you.
I watch all of your videos like all the time, and I'm just like, that just made me feel really good.
That's a beautiful part about TikTok, is that I feel like it opened this door for people to connect on a whole other level. I often compare it to like junior high to high school. I feel like when you're in junior high, there's such a small pool of people that it's so hard to like figure out who you are and who your friends are, and to have people to connect with. And when you get to high school, although it can be awful, there's always just a bigger pool of people. So there's always a higher chance that you're able to kind of find your person, your people, your crowd that you're going to hang out with, the people that are going to make you feel good about who you are. And I often compare TikTok to that. It's basically a giant high school full of cliques and channels and different groups of people. It can be really awful, like any mass group of people can be, but it also has the power to help people change their lives and find a community that they wouldn't normally be able to find, and just be a part of something that makes them feel good at the end of the day. And yeah, that's why it worked so well for me when the pandemic hit. Is I was an extrovert, forced introvert that needed somewhere to kind of put myself out there, and then TikTok said 56,000 people, here you go. I was like, here I am. And it blew up ever since. And
you mentioned pillars. How would you explain that strategy to other people who are wanting to get into content creation?
This was most definitely a business decision. Like when I was deciding to start my platform, or that I was going to try to run with my platform, I wanted it to be cohesive. And I knew that, like anything with any business, you kind of have to know your direction, or else you're all over the place. You're pulled in multiple different directions, and you're looking to build a crowd. You kind of have to keep that like consistency. So Scott and I were literally laying in bed just deciding what were the most important things to me and what I thought the most amount of people would kind of relate to. So obviously I picked our relationship because that's what sparked things. It's also one of my favorite parts about my life. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. Not a lot of people get to say that, but like I'm also married to my best friend, one of the coolest, kindest people in the entire world. And we visually look different, but we are the same person in opposite, like we're the same person in two different, just very different bodies and very different upbringings. But so I went with that, and then we moved on to humor because our whole relationship is based off of laughter. I know people talk about laughing through trauma as being a bad thing, but it's the only way I've gotten through anything in my entire life, and it's the way I will continue to get through things for the rest of my life. So humor in a time where people were being forced to stay home and their bodies were changing for the first time, and they were, losing their jobs and incomes, and things were getting hard, just made a lot of sense because that just is what has helped me. So if you can make somebody smile after a really tough day, then like that was like, check, my job's done. I focus on movement, exercise, which I changed to movement because I have a bad relationship with an exercise, that I have a great relationship with movement. And just showing me moving my body in as a fat person in non-conventional, non-traditional ways, not just going to the gym to lose weight. I'm not interested in that. So being able to show myself choosing things like hiking and rollerblading and shooting hoops and walking and things that people think I shouldn't be doing because I'm fat, was very important to me because I have a better relationship with movement now than I ever have, and I want that for more people. And then authenticity was obviously super important to me because I don't have time to lie to people. I can barely do what I'm doing now, let alone try to keep up a facade and try to make people, try to not be who I am. And that was really important to me, is that I show up regardless of if it's a good day or a bad day, or that I'm honest with the things that I'm posting and that I'm sharing, that the reactions that you get from Scott and I are always authentic and true, because again, he's a terrible actor, so it's not like he could do that. Anyways, and what's number 5?
You did.
Oh, self-love. Oh God, I'm so dumb. Fuck,
the main one.
The whole fucking my entire podcast. Okay, we're gonna pretend like that.
It's because it's become so natural to you.
Yeah,
that's why.
That's what we'll blame it on. Yeah, it's something that's been a huge part of who I am, and something that I've struggled with. Something I've reworked the definition of for 15 years of. I say 15 years because that's the length of Scott and I's relationship, and that's kind of how I base like where I've been at with my journey of self-love. And I just want to share the things that have worked for me because I have found such a peace in who I am. And I think that the world would just be a better place if people started separating who they were from what they look like. A lot of more people would be doing the things that they love and enjoying their lives and bringing better energy to this world and just creating cooler things. So yeah, self-love is important to me. And I kind of just wanted to share that what's worked for me and share that this is like a dynamic journey. It's not this pivotal destination that you just get to and live blissfully ever after. That it's like a day by day thing that you can like yourself today and not like yourself tomorrow, and that's okay. But that was just important to me because now when I pick what brands that I'm working with, if I'm hypothetically I'm working with a clothing brand and I'm able to look at their brief, I'm able to decide, like, does this message contribute to any of my pillars? Am I able to leverage my relationship, or am I able to be humorous in this? Does this talk self-love? Does this impact? Is this an authentic connection for me? And it's just been able to help me kind of guide and navigate myself so that I could stay on track with, like, never stepping outside of what makes me and my platform who I am. Because I mean, it would be obvious at this point if I showed up tomorrow like, here's this weight loss program, people would be like, who are you? Like, what is
are you in danger? Is this a message?
Yeah, do you need
blink twice?
If I ever post anything like that, please know I have been kidnapped. But yeah, it's just one of those things that, I mean, I've always had pillars as a human being. Like, which is kind of like my moral compass, I guess, of what I've chosen to do or be a part of. And those have changed as I've grown. And I'm sure as my platform continues to grow, I'll add some in, or, that'll kind of change too. But they've just helped me keep me consistent so that even when, like, I feel too much pressure or things are getting really hard, I just always have a solid base to kind of create with and bring to the table, and it's what people can expect when they come to my space.
I love listening to you talk.
It's so inspiring.
That is the main word for it, is that it's inspiring, but it also, like, you can feel the passion behind your voice about it.
I just think we need it.
We do.
We need it
for sure.
I had been tired for so long, like, going onto social media and seeing people that made me feel inadequate. And, like, that's the last thing I ever want to do with my platform, is, like, if you're coming to my space to feel safe, I don't want you coming to my space and comparing yourself to me. Like, I want you coming to my space and being like, oh shit, she had a bad day too. Cool. Like, I get it. Or, wow, like, if she can do this, I can do it. But at the same time, like, what's most important to me is that you come to my space and feel inspired realistically. Like, there's a form of inspiration for a lot of people that is unrealistic and not rooted in authenticity. Whereas I hope that the inspiration that people find from my page is rooted in that authenticity and is realistic for people. Like, I don't need you to, like, do this, like, 10-step thing to, like, change your whole life. I just want you to start taking little steps that are going to make you feel better about who you are, because I'm doing it. So I don't want to see fake people anymore. And I feel like our generation is definitely the generation that kind of is at wit's end when it comes to that. I say our generation, but I'm speaking strictly to Cheer here because you're young.
I'm 27.
But my brother's 26. So I know how I feel about him.
This is ageism.
Like, definitely is ageism. But I definitely think that 30 and up are, like, the ones that got the brunt of it. Like, watching television, commercials, magazines, those things, like, we didn't have control over what we brought in on a regular basis. Like, if I was watching TV, I couldn't skip commercials back then. I couldn't I'm making myself sound so old, but it's the truth. Like, we couldn't avoid those certain parts of unrealistic beauty standards or marketing, and that, whereas now that we have social media, we're like, why are you watching somebody who makes you feel bad about yourself? Like, if I could have gotten rid of that back then, like, I would have done that. And then now that you have the power, you're here to tell me, like, you're following somebody who makes you feel like shit. Like,
yeah.
So you refrain from labeling yourself as, like, a body positive influencer. Can you explain why?
Absolutely. Historically, body positivity is rooted and was created for and by fat Black women. I just happen to be fat. It was made to fight for the rights of fat Black women, and it has grown to include a huge array of different people. The reason why I choose to step away from that is because I am a white woman. And compared to the people who are part of the body positivity movement, I'm the one that lives with the most privilege. I would consider myself an ally to the body positivity movement for sure, because I reap the benefits of the activism that body positivity activists do, but it's not a platform that I want to be centered on, because it's not a platform I deserve to be centered on. So that's something that I've moved away from over the last year, 2 years, because you show up fat and the world's like, body positivity, you like yourself. And it's like, I do like myself, but like, the body positivity is so much more than just liking who you are. Body positivity at its root is about fighting for the rights of fat people, disabled people, and people living in marginalized bodies. And realistically, should be at the bottom of that totem pole in terms of who should be the face of that movement. So I decided to step away and be clear. And for another reason, is another selfish reason I chose to move away from the body positivity movement, is because I didn't want people to be confused in a sense that like my platform is only for fat people. Because when people think body positivity, for the most part, they think fat, when realistically self-love is not something that is just something that fat people work on. Like everybody struggles with their self-worth and their self-love. And it was important for me to be clear that this was a welcoming space for everybody.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I had no idea that the body positivity movement was started by Black women. Because a lot of times I think of like body positivity and I think of like the post of like a skinny white woman with a flat stomach being like, this is me with my flat tummy. This is me after I ate a hamburger. Body positivity. And it's like,
no,
okay,
like,
bestie, I still don't look like you. Like, I don't know what you want.
Yeah, and it's like it's confusing. I have a really great article that I can share with you to read after, and I don't know if you guys want to share it with the community, but it just basically breaks down like this was a movement. If I'm wrong, 60s is when it kind of started and became a thing, and it just was based off of like actual like rights. Like we're not just talking about like you yourself accepting your body, like we're talking about like actually being able to walk onto an airplane and have a seat, like an actual seatbelt that's going to fit you, or being able to walk into a store and have sizing, or being able to like shop on a website and have inclusive bodies. And again, I'm not just talking, I center fat Black women because they created it, but we're also talking marginalized bodies too as well, disabled bodies, like bodies that are not seen enough anywhere. So again, even as a fat woman, although I am in a marginalized body, I'm in like the least marginalized body because I'm also white. I like to amplify, but I don't want to be the center of that. So I've had to have some really tough conversations with like certain speaking events that I've done this year, and certain articles that have been like mocked to be posted to like be removed and have it changed, because it's just like until people start saying, hey, that's not what body positivity is, you kind of run into like what you said, Cheer, like people just thinking that it's about that when there's much more to it than you know, your body changing after food. So yeah, can somebody who is body positive be also talking about self-love? For sure, but like the platform bases are two very different things. I'm not fighting for your rights as a self-love advocate. I'm fighting for your ability to see yourself through a different lens, whereas a body positivity activist is looking for you to have the things that you deserve in your body.
It's a reminder, it's a helpful reminder that like we don't always know.
I didn't know.
Like I had an idea and I was like, okay, yeah, but like the in-depthness of the activism that people go into is like you always like people get little snippets of things and like, oh, that's what it is. And also I think that, yes, if you want to send us that article, we can definitely add that in the show notes as well.
I can send you the article, and then I'll do a deep dive for maybe like 3 actual body positivity activists.
The way you speak, like I can tell that this is something that you're passionate about and that you are willing to, like, you want to keep doing this for most of your life, at least. Like, this chapter of your life book is very dedicated to this.
How do you deal with the hate comments, and how do you like check in with your mental health and make sure that those things don't get to you?
This is probably one of the most asked questions that I get. I've developed a system. I call it my 3 E's. So I erase, I educate, or I eradicate. I try to always educate first because I think that it's important to understand that the bullying that I receive as a fat person, or the mean things that are said to me, one, will never be as mean as the things I've said to myself. And I think sometimes people forget that. Like, most human beings are meaner to themselves than anybody could ever be to them. And 2 is learned behavior. And that's a big part of my self-love platform, specifically when it comes to being fat, is that I learned that fat was bad since I was a kid. Everything I watched, everything I saw, everything I consumed, the things I did in the gym, the things I was told to do in the gym were all about thinness, being thin, not being fat, because fat was bad and I couldn't be beautiful fat. I couldn't be successful fat. I couldn't live the life I wanted in a fat body. Those same things are taught to thin people too. And so when I get comments in my comment section, I try to be as empathetic to that as possible, because the difference between me and this person is that I've been forced to unlearn those behaviors because I'm the one who's living in the fat body. Someone who's commenting those things hasn't really been forced to unlearn any of that because it's not something that they deal with. And typically they don't have anybody in their life that are dealing with the same things, or they just don't care. And not that that's okay, but I also understand it because I was 27 years old before I started trying to change my own narrative of how I spoke to myself and the things I said. So, or I'll be snarky and make a funny comment, like clap back in a funny educational way. I try to do that because I think that's important that other people who are struggling see it. Often I'll get, don't give the haters attention, or don't pay attention to the mean things people say. And it's like, we've been suppressing the bullied for so long that, like, let's just allow the bullied to stick up for themselves in a respectful, appropriate manner from now on, especially in my space. Like, if you're saying things that are disrespectful to me, my platform, and the people in it, I have a right to educate you and to tell you that you're no longer welcome here, and showcase the bad that is in what you're saying to me, because this is my space first before it's ever your space. If it's Brad, who's 14 at home in his parents' basement sending me a pig emoji, I'll just erase it. Chances are I'm not going to be able to educate Brad properly or in the time, and it's probably not going to be very respectful of a conversation. But I also just don't want other people to see those types of comments in my space, because I don't see the pig emoji as bad. Pigs are cute, bacon's good. So it doesn't really bother me. But I know that there are people on my platform who would see that and take that to heart, even if it wasn't directed at them. So yeah, I'll erase. And then if things are like horrible, or people don't respect my education, or are disrespecting people, I'll eradicate. So I'll make sure that the comment is erased and they're deleted from any one of my platforms. So I keep it structured, because when I keep it business, it makes it less personal. And then it makes it easier for me to go to bed at the end of the day. But I do take some things with me. Some days are easier than others. Sometimes things are just overwhelming, no matter what part of, I'm a very confident human being. But I will say that I'm never bothered by the things that people say. I'm bothered that people can say them. those are two very different things. And I think that that's really important to acknowledge, is that people calling me fat or saying mean things to me isn't hurtful to me. It's just fucked up that someone is has the ability to sit there and not have remorse or empathy for another human being and essentially bully them. And that's kind of where I am disheartened, because I'm tough enough to take it. So if you're going to bully anybody, find yourself in my comment section for sure, because I know that the Alicia, who is 23 years old, who is really struggling with her body, if those things were said to her, I don't know who she would be, or if she would be here, with how much she was struggling with her body. So I think that that's where I get the most bothered by it, is that it's not like I can't take it. I've been there. I've said it to myself. It's not new. It's just that it's 2022 and people can still say those things, is what bothers me the most. So
obviously you are such a huge influencer for so many people in such a positive way, but how has being an influencer helped you grow in your personal life?
I thought I was alone for a very long time. When you are struggling with your body and who you are, it is a very lonely place to be, especially as an empath, and especially as an extrovert, especially as the funny person. So when I started this, although I was definitely on my journey to self-love, it really changed my whole view on it, because I had spent my whole life thinking I was alone, that I was the only one who was going through the things that I was going through. I never asked for help. I didn't ask for help. And I think that that's like the biggest thing that really blew me away about my platform, is that when it blew up, I was like, I'm nobody. Like, why is my story so special? And then I realized that my story is really not special. And like, that's special in itself, that there are just so many people struggling, that somebody's story like mine, who is just your average human being who is just sharing their life, can be impactful for a human being, is just like, well, then a lot of people are struggling then. Like, a lot of people are going through what I'm going through. So being given the opportunity to like share what has helped me has been a gift, and one of the most rewarding things I'll ever do, aside from being an aunt, for me to be able to get to live and struggle and laugh and cry and learn and fail and succeed, and then have other people be motivated by that, or have other people change the way they're speaking to themselves, or the things they wear, or the jobs they apply for, or the partners they seek, is the craziest thing in the entire world.
It's cool.
I have a 16-year-old who sent me a letter last year saying that I was her hero. Like, what? Like, I didn't have a hero when I was 16 years old. I didn't have somebody who made me feel good about my body, or the things that I was doing, or that I was adequate. Like, I didn't have that when I was 16 years old. So the fact that there's TikTok that's going around that says, you are the person now that you would have felt safe with as a child, hit me like a brick wall, because I have most definitely become the person that I needed a long time ago. And the fact that I get to be that person for not only, you know, the 16-year-olds who are sending me letters, but like one of my oldest followers on Instagram is like 76 years old, and like she's living a different life now because of my platform. And like, I know my mom's taken more chances on, you know, like she bought her first bathing suit last year, and like I'm able to give that to people by just being who I am. Looking back at who I was before I had my platform to who I am now, I've grown a lot, and I've realized that we're the majority. The majority of people are struggling. The majority of people need help. The majority of people are on medication. The majority of people are struggling with their mental health. The majority of people have a terrible relationship with food. Like, it wasn't ever just me. It's just I am talking about it, and there are more people talking about it now than there ever were. And that means there's more people getting help than there ever was, which is like the end goal.
Thanks for sharing that.
Sorry.
I'm a sympathetic crier, but also at the same time, like, that's something that I think that we all can relate to. Feeling like you're the only one, or like feeling like maybe you didn't have that role model, like growing up, or like that hero, and hearing that story about specifically the 16-year-old that sent you the letter that said, "You're my hero." Like,
you hope to have an impact on people, and then you see it and you're like, wait a second, like, I wish I would have had somebody that would have helped me see my talent or see what I was worth before I ever did. But I mean, I say that, but who knows if I would have ended up here. And I think what I'm doing now is more important than me having that person when I was 16. I think that the things that I've gone through allow me to be a better content creator, it allows me to have a better platform now than I would have, I think. So I it's one of those things that's like, I can wish for it to have happened to me, but then at the same time, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and I got here and I got this platform because of the things that I've been through, and my experience and the type of person that I am. So yeah,
it just shows the impact that you can have on an individual human just by being authentically you, no matter the size of your platform. It doesn't matter. That's something that we talk about consistently within our own communities, that you make an impact just stepping out the door every day. You make an impact by waking up every single day,
especially with Twitch. And like, I mean, it's cool for me with TikTok, but especially with Twitch, it's so community based. And like, I know that there are days where both of you have shown up to your platforms when you probably shouldn't have, in terms of your mental health or what you've been going through. And you've made the choice to be present and be there regardless of, the impact that had on you. And I obviously don't advocate for that on a regular basis, but I also think that it's a responsibility that you have to the people within your community, that you don't even realize that showing up on the days that aren't good is so impactful to the people who follow you and watch you, because it's so important for people to understand that not every day is good. For you specifically, Squid, like, there was one day that you showed up, and I know I messaged you after that stream, and you were very open and honest with people that, like, you probably shouldn't have streamed today, but you did. I needed your stream that day. I had a rough day, and you being present and being there was one of the things that just helped me get through what I was going through. So I think even more on Twitch, and that's why I've fallen in love with both of y'all's communities. One, because you've created beautiful communities, but two, because it is a safe space that I can choose to show up and not have a conversation. I can choose to show up and talk. I can choose to show up and play. I can be sitting in my underwear or laying in bed with my AirPods in when I can't fall asleep, just listening to your communities and seeing that. And like, it sounds silly coming from somebody who has a platform of 4.6 million people, but like, that ability for me to be able to step away from that and feel like I have a family or a space that is just always going to be accepting of me is something that I have always dreamed of having. And I get that from both of your platforms. And that's not something that I get from even my own platform. And I think that that's like not a bad thing, but it's harder for me to navigate that with 4.6 million people, to be able to create that safe space. And I've been obviously going through it, trying to weed out the people that don't deserve to be in my space. But I know that when I walk into both of your spaces, that it will be with open arms and inappropriate jokes and laughter, and just one of the safest spaces that I've ever been in. So I just have to shout you guys out for that too, because it's been a big part of me learning to like become who I actually am and really live authentically, which is something that's important to me, and I know to both of you.
Thank you for saying that.
I don't even like you guys. Don't get
yeah, fuck off. This could be a good segue, and it's not something that we have a question on in here. But you mentioned about like weeding people out of your community who do not deserve to be there. You recently came out to your community.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were talking, because like I reached out to you because I know that was a lot. That was a lot to do. Like, and especially because you're not just coming out to family in a quiet space. Like you were coming out to a lot of people all at once.
I think that coming out to my family would have been a lot less intimidating in the sense that, I mean, I didn't really come out to my parents. What everybody else saw is what everybody saw. Like it wasn't, I came out to my husband, but I had come out to Scott like a year and a bit before I decided to come out to my platform. Like we'd already had this conversation. We have already talked about it, but the words actually left my mouth a year and a half ago. And so it wasn't a shock to him. He always knew. And I guess my reasoning to come out is that, again, of spending the last 3 years, like really educating myself on who I am and the world and the privileges that I hold. It is a privilege for me to be able to hide behind a straight passing relationship. It is a privilege that I walk into a room with a man and everybody assumes that I am straight. It's not a privilege to walk into a room with a man. Let me clarify that. I meant it's a privilege that after I walk into the room with a man, people think I'm straight. And because I hadn't talked about it, I hadn't spoken about it, I hadn't brought it up on my platform, I wouldn't say I hadn't been authentic about it, but like I'm not interested in trying to navigate my feelings for women with 4.6 million people. Like I don't want to have like a casual conversation with all of you about it. But I had already known. I was tired of people assuming. That's frustrating when people just like assume that you just like men, and it's like, well, no, like I got a good one, but like chances are in another world, not men, like they're not doing a great job of advocating for themselves in my comment section. So like I also have known that I'm not alone in anything I've ever gone through. So this wasn't going to be, I wasn't going to be the first person to come out in a straight passing relationship. Like I wasn't going to be the first person to do that. I think I confuse people because people are like, in education, first of all, is appalling to me. That the fact that I would be like, hey, I'm bisexual, and people are like, oh, so you want a threesome? I'm like, nope, neither of those things have anything to do with another. It's like, oh, you're getting a girlfriend, and I'm like, nope. That's not how it works. Like that's something completely different. And the amount of educating I had to do when I did come out was very daunting, and I did not anticipate that. That again is me living these last 32 years in a straight passing relationship. I've never had to understand what it's like to be a part of the LGBTQ plus community because I didn't have to, and so I wouldn't know how stupid people are. Meanwhile, the whole entire community is like, yeah, people are mean, we get it. And I'm like, cool, I'm new, I'm sorry, I have a lot of work that I have to do. And watching people leave was really fucked up. Like I haven't changed from yesterday to today. Like literally nothing about me has changed. I'm not now dating women on top of it. So I just told you that I think they're hot, basically.
They are.
Nothing's changed. I'm still married to a man. I'm still in my committed marriage. Nothing's changed, but I lost over like 8,000 people, dropped off my platform. And then luckily I had some really great friends share the post who have big platforms that kind of counteracted the drop. I probably ended up technically only losing like 3,000 by number wise because of the community, the new community that joined me. So although I knew it was for the best, it still sucked. Like, it sucks. And again, I'm preaching to the choir here. Like, when I say it sucks to have somebody not like you for one thing, like, I'm new to that. And like, it was a big eye opener for me that I had been allowed myself to live with that privilege for so long. And not that that's necessarily a bad thing, because I do know that there are people who are in straight passing relationships that are likely bisexual that will never come out, and like, that's totally up to you. And I want to be clear that like, your feelings around that are so valid, and so like, you can choose to do whatever you think is best for you. And for me, it just, here I am submerged in both of your platforms, which are extremely inclusive. I'm making jokes about women. I'm talking about how attractive they are. Wasn't like it wasn't obvious. Like, I didn't really hide it. And then I was like, okay, I should probably just do it. So like, yeah, it was scary, but like also necessary. Like, I don't want you on my platform anyways. If what it takes for you to not like me or not think my content is valuable is the fact that I also like women, then you're not for me either. So like, that's cool. But in the moment when you're doing something that's so intimate and important and was like a really big decision, to be able to see people just drop like flies was like really hurtful, but necessary. Like I said, like necessary. Like, it's all a part of the game. I know my community's stronger today than it was before I made that post, and I'm proud of that. I know that it's more inclusive than it was the day that I made that post, and I'm proud of that. And I think that that's another reason why I decided to come out in the first place, is that I didn't really want people here that weren't inclusive. And like, I saw how hard both of you have worked to create inclusive, welcoming communities for both of your platforms, that like, I realized that I hadn't really done that. Like, I hadn't really checked in to be, or been very, like, I consider myself an ally, but like, how good of an ally was I if I couldn't be clear to people that like, they're not welcome in my space if you don't support this? So coming out was my way of saying that, essentially. It's like, if you don't support me or people within this community, then this isn't a safe space for you. So like, this is my space. It should always be safe for me. People aren't motivated to understand things they're not dealing with. So unless you have somebody in your family that is a part of this community, or you yourself, you're not motivated to unlearn the things you believe or have been taught. So I had a bunch of people who were willing to sit back, and that made me feel very good about my platform, is that when I did that Q&A, so many people asked so many great questions that I was able to like answer in private, and have really great conversations to kind of teach and help people understand that like, the concept of bisexuality isn't that I want both, it's that I could have either. The last thing I would ever want is somebody that's a part of my community seeing me as straight coming into my my platform and making your community feel unsafe. And that's the other part about it. It's like, I need to be clear about this now so that I can start setting boundaries in my space, because I just haven't had to do that yet. So
hell yeah.
I'm really glad you came out.
I'm also very glad I came out. Like, I don't know, like, people are like, well, what difference does it make? I was like, it makes a fucking difference to me. Like, it makes a difference to me. At the end of the day, like, I have been hiding this part about who I am for a very long time, because I didn't feel like it made sense for me to come out. And like, I don't feel like I should have to live that way. The other part too is like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's disrespectful to your husband. I'm like, but is it? Because I could just not come out. But at the same time, like, it's important for him to know that, like, of who I am and who I'm attracted to, and like those types of things, because I just, like, again, that's not honest with him. Like, that's my partner, the person who I'm literally love, my best friend. Like, I don't want to lie to him about how I feel. And it's not like I ever did or ever held back, but like, I don't know what the rest of my life looks like. Like, I don't know how. I mean, I do know that he'll have to die for me to be with another human being, but I'm just saying that it's
that can be arranged.
You mean it's Scott, watch his fucking back now.
It's the truth though. Like I don't know what the rest of my life looks like, and I'm building this platform built on authenticity, and God forbid 10 years from now Scott dies and all of a sudden I'm dating women. Like in my brain I'm like, well, the chances are I'm not dating another man. It's one of those things that sounds so deep to like actually think about, but it's the truth.
It is, yeah.
Like it's part of who I am, and regardless of who I'm with, and and just the amount of people that I think you have to be intimate with another human being to know that you're attracted to them is also another, like, and I mean, I think that just comes with sexuality in general, but then at the same time, it's like I have like a 57-year-old lady named Linda telling me that do you want me to read you? I'm going to read this to you.
Yes.
Have you made love to a woman to authenticate your love and lust for women that would deem you bisexual? If not, that deems you confused and an attention-seeking hoe. Just wait. This gets good. Okay? Are you prepared?
It's not already good?
No, just wait. If you can truly go down and dive into the pussy of a woman in front of your husband, you can authenticate that bisexual label. So now not only do I have to lick a woman's vagina, I have to do it in front of my husband in order to be bisexual.
There has to be a witness. It's like a marriage.
The way she's using authenticate makes me want to scream. I love women like I love men, but I have never and will never have a sexual relationship with a woman. But what's your desire, both the pole and the hole?
I desire the pole and the hole.
What?
That's my new catchphrase. But if you have never tasted the honey from the hole, it's just chatter. This woman is bisexual, 110%. Okay,
she's talking about women's vaginas being honeypots. Like, yeah, she gay.
She might, yeah. Okay, if I would love for you to diplomatically respond. I'm curious on the way people and how people choose your label. What puts you in the class of bisexuality? I love the world, not bashing, but since you're very public, I want to know what your sexual experiences, lovemaking to a woman, classifies you as bisexual. Please enlighten and respond your newfound label to your Facebook resume.
Oh my God.
I said, please do not respond to this email again and remove yourself from my platforms. You need help. If you attempt to contact me again, I will be sending this to the police. She did, though. Yeah, anyways, I thought you would all laugh at that because that's the other side of what I'm dealing with coming out as bisexual. But the stigma on like I have to have been intimate with a woman to know that I'm attracted to women, like, is just like a huge part of that.
That was great. Great. All right, Cheer, would you like to ask a question?
Okay. So as you know, the title of our podcast is Not Your Pick Me. Did you know what a pick me was before coming on here, and how would you describe a pick me?
I didn't know what a pick me was before I was on your platforms, but I would describe a pick me as somebody who says and does what others want them to do. Pick me's are inauthentic and move with the crowd. And pick me's are all over all different types of platforms.
What are your experiences with like pick me's, either in real life or influencing? Or
I think my experience with a pick me, specifically to influencing, is there are a lot of people who have platforms that just say and do what others would like them to do and don't really stand up for themselves. And I know we've had that conversation about how social media is very dynamic and has changed, and that I feel really bad for pick-me's in certain spaces because it's what a lot of pick-me's had to do in order to find their platform or gain space or gain traction in a space that's dominated by men, or online dominated by beauty standards, or in certain spaces. So I think that I feel bad for a lot of pick-me's, but there are definitely a lot of people out there that are not moving past that now that a lot safer spaces have been created, and like there's a lot more people living authentically. So they're definitely out there, and I kind of feel bad because like it's a very hard life to live, not being authentic to like who you are and kind of always following the pack.
So even though we're not live, at the end of our podcast, we like to kind of like have the idea of a raid, where we just suggest people who are listening or watching to check out certain creators. So if you could raid anyone right now as if it was kind of like a Twitch raid, who would you send them to?
I would send them to MX Devon, so at MX Devon on Instagram. They are a queer disabled advocate. They are neurodivergent, a poet. They just have a wicked platform that advocates for inclusivity and kindness and love. And they're one of my favorite people that I started following this year. So
thank you so much, Alicia, for that amazing raid suggestion for what we do here on Not Your Pick Me. Y'all, please go check out Devon, MX Devon or Mix Devon on Instagram. And thank you, Alicia, so much for being here with us today. We really enjoyed talking to you.
I love you both.
We love you so freaking much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Not Your Pick Me, hosted by me, Squid.
And me, Cheer.
Join our community over on the Discord and follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more exclusive content. When you leave a review, tell us about the topics and creators that you want to learn more about.
Our executive producer is Janice Matsko of Empowerment Ventures, and our theme music was created by Brandon Peralta.
Until next time, guys, all my lovin's.
And thanks for hanging out.